Welcome to The Juggle is Real. I'm Andryanna, and I'm so glad you're here. I am coming at you today from a house that is full of half unpacked boxes. There's paint cans. Of course, there's hockey bags. And honestly, just a heart that feels really full and just deeply, deeply grateful. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. We just moved and, we're still in the thick of settling in. Our old house just closed 2 days ago. And honestly, it still feels a little surreal saying this out loud, but we are living in our dream lakefront home. And over the past couple of weeks, I've shared tiny snippets on socials, and some of you have messaged me and you're asking, like, how did you do this? Like, did you manifest? Like, what is going on? How did you make this happen for yourself? And the real answer is yes, I totally would love to share what I did or, this process of manifestation. But I don't want to just tell the story because today's episode, I want to share like how this dream started. And it did start back in 2020. So it's been a few years. I want to share the journal prompts and the mindset shifts that helped to change everything for me. I want to share why letting go was really key. And I want to share real examples of how I use things like visualization and intuition and moving into action and some of these spiritual and practical tools that supported this journey. But what I really want to do is explain how you can apply this to whatever you are wanting to call into your life, whether it's a new home, your dream home, a relationship, a career shift, or just like a new, bigger version of yourself. My goal for this episode is that you leave not thinking, wow, cool, like how lucky for her. But I want you to leave thinking, okay, well, if she can do it, I can too. And to start moving into action on it. So let's get started. Let's take you back to the beginning of all this and let's dive right in.
This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
So it is a bit surreal that I am sitting here, even amidst there's a lot of mess and there's a lot still to do, but like I have been waking up to these gorgeous, incredible, peaceful, and healing lake views that I have been dreaming about for years now. But the origin of this begins 5 years ago when I just allowed myself to have an inkling. So it's 2020. This is before any sort of lockdowns or any sort of whispers of pandemic. I went to an event with a friend, and in that event, there was a goal setting and a visualization. And so I was right in the thick of it. At the time I had 2 young children. I had overcome burnout, but I was still navigating work. I was working at the college I was teaching. I was enjoying it a lot. Of course, we had our little ones. We were doing all of the things, right? And at this event, it was like creating this visualization. And in that moment, I had this visualization of, first of all, my husband, Ryan, turning around, and in his arms was a baby, which at that point we only had 2 kids. And I know like we were sort of on the fence of, should we have one more? Like we were kind of like, should we, shouldn't we? And in the visualization where I was like deeply just like connected and aligned, he turns around and he is holding this baby. And in this picture that I was visualizing, we were also in a new home. And so that was sort of the first time that I let myself sort of dream outside the box, because it was this beautiful, expansive home. And at that point, my goal was to move into a home that had a really nice view. And I wanted something with a lot of light, some nature, and to feel, spacious and expansive, right? And so it was interesting because the first iteration of that way back then was I imagined myself in a new house with a nice view. And then as I delved a little deeper into like my personal development and that type of a spiritual journey, it was like a letting myself expand to, well, what is a nice view? Like what do you mean? Like what would a nice view be? And of course there are so many options. But for me, I was like, well, what if we could have a lake view? Like a lake view would be so serene and so beautiful. And then eventually, and this process, took a few years, but then I eventually asked myself a bigger question. And that question was brought to me thanks to Coach Hina Khan. If anything is possible, what would you love? And this question, like I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but if anything was possible, what would I love? And I would love to wake up and have a view of the lake. But even more than that, it was to be on the lake, right? Lakefront, not just a view of the lake. It was to be on the lake. And it wasn't, one of those things where it's like, if only everything lines up perfectly, but that's okay for other people, but not for me. But it was this inkling of like, to live on the lake for us. Like it was possible. If anything is possible, then sure, like we can move into our dream lakefront home. And so I want to stop there because this is a great journal prompt. And I would love for you to maybe think about this, pause, write down some notes, go for a walk, if anything is possible, what would you love? And let yourself imagine. Go where your logic has not yet caught up, and don't think about the how. Don't think about, what would someone else think? Just let it come to you and allow yourself to want it. Allow that desire to bubble up, because wanting without getting permission, that is step one, I would say. Okay. So step one is letting yourself want it. Okay. Because here's the thing. Most of us, and I just explained, like I'm like this too, right? Most of us don't dream big enough because we don't believe that we're allowed to, right? We don't even think that it is possible. We think like, who am I? Who am I to want that, right? Or like, no. Like that, if anything is possible, what would I love? Oh no, no. I can't even think that I would love that because that's too big. Or like people like me, like I grew up and we didn't do things like that. Or, it's fine for someone else and good for them, but no, that's not possible. It is impossible for me to have this little thing that I desire. And those thoughts are not the truth, right? This is not true. Like these are called limiting beliefs for a reason, because it's really just our conditioning. And Stephen Bartlett says that most of us are living inside an invisible circle that we didn't really build. We sort of inherited it, right? So we're in this circle with all of our beliefs, and also those beliefs include our limitations. And we stay inside the circle because it feels familiar. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. Even if honestly, sometimes it sucks, even if sometimes it is painful, it is what we know, right? And, it could be what was passed down to us from our family, past generations, the community we're in, the people we surround ourselves with, or just societal norms. And so we assume that this circle that we have, put ourselves in is a wall, like we cannot get out of it. But to be honest, and what Bartlett says is like, this is just a line a line that we drew in the sand, right? And the minute you take one step outside of that line, you realize like it was in the wall, right? You can always take a step further. And of course, you can step back if you want. Like you can go back in that circle of limitations. But to be honest, you're probably not going to, because once you take that one little step, you realize, this tastes a little different. And even if maybe not everyone is agreeing with me, even if maybe people who are part of that inner circle aren't approving of it, like the freedom of taking that step, it tastes a little different, right? So maybe ask yourself, what is just outside of my comfort zone, my little circle that I've drawn around myself? Like what am I too scared to say out loud? Where am I shrinking so that other people can feel comfortable? And then write it down anyway. Say it out loud anyway. Look at yourself in the mirror and speak your truth, because once you say it, it starts to become real. And trust me, at first it might sound weird, right? To actually write down or say out loud or even think the thought of like, well, if anything is possible, I would really love to move into a beautiful lakefront home with gorgeous views. Ah, who am I to say that? Wait a second. But you can, because once you start to say it, every single time you do, it gets a little less weird and then it becomes a little more real. Okay, so this is where I would say we can get into step 2, which is like getting really clear on that desire and painting yourself a picture and visualizing and feeling it. Because once I owned the desire, I had to get clear on it, right? Like not just in pictures, because like, creating a vision board, super great. I have done that totally. I probably still have it somewhere. Awesome. But it's not just the picture of it, it's the feeling of it. And that truly is a secret, right? It's not necessarily just saying it, it's feeling it. So I have journaled thousands of times in the morning with my coffee, and I have journaled about the view, the light, the sound of the water, and mostly the feeling of waking up here. And I've said it out loud. I have visualized it on walks. I have done hypnotherapy with my dear, dear friend, Kelly Maisi. Like she has taken me through my dream through hypno. And then I've re-listened to that recording over and over and over when I've gone on walks. And I didn't just think about it, right? I didn't just think about moving. I really felt myself living it. And I've also listened to the book by Neville Goddard called The Power of Awareness. This is an oldie goldie. Some of the phrasing is like, it's written in a totally different way. It's not how we speak. It is not a conversational book, and it's, very masculine in tone. However, if you can get past that, the book is pure gold. It's called The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. It was written in like 1952 or something. But his message is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And that is pretty much what the entire book is, right? Assume the feeling of your wish already being fulfilled. So it's not like when my dreams come true, then I'll feel peace, happy, healed, joy, etc. Not when then. It is assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled now. Not someday, not, well, I hope I can do this, but now I'm feeling as if it is already happening, because your subconscious doesn't actually know the difference between now and what you're imagining now. I've listened to it, like, I'm not joking, hundreds of times. And because it's written a long time ago, you can find it on YouTube. There are podcast recordings of this book. You can go find it at a bookstore if you want to read it. But over and over and over. And at first it sounded very jarring. At first I didn't quite understand it, but little by little, studying the passages, listening to the chapters over and over, it helped to rewire my brain. It helped to rewire how I was feeling. It wasn't just like the hype of manifestation, quote unquote, right? And I even hesitate to say how I manifested my dream home. It was like this rehearsal for preparing yourself and living it so that when it does come to be, you're like, oh yeah, this is it. This feels like exactly how I have thought of it. So it's really beautiful. And there's a lot of there's case studies in it and whatnot, but one of them is the story that he shares. People would come to him and say like, oh, this is what I would really love, or this is what I want, or whatever. And he would explain to them this process of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But he shares the story of this couple who wanted to move into a penthouse apartment in New York City. And they explained all of the things about how, you know, they wanted something rent controlled. They wanted something that overlooks Central Park. They wanted mirrored walls. They wanted a fireplace, all of these things. They just couldn't figure out how it would happen because, of course, I mean, back in the 1950s, prices were probably even steep then compared to now, right? But like, what he told them was to stop focusing on how, but instead for them to embody the feeling of already being there, seeing the view, living it in their imagination. And then as the story unfolds, you see how it became theirs through this string and this chain of, you know, unforeseeable events. It's just this reminder of like, don't worry about how it's going to happen. Don't worry about when it's going to happen, but just assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So that's all I will say on that. The step 2, quote unquote, of the manifestation process for me, because moving on to step 3, once you've created this beautiful, clear picture and you can feel yourself living your desire, step 3 is actually to release it and to trust, because it is the most important part. However, it can be the hardest part, right? Like the letting go part. And it's so interesting because I feel like it became, and this dream came to us so much quicker once I let it go. And I can tell you there were days throughout this process where I would just like feel so frustrated. You know, I was like, I want this. I want it now. And then I was clinging too tightly to it. I was gripping. And if you understand this process, you understand like all I was doing was reinforcing the notion that I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. So me saying I want it really is just like a sentence, like rephrasing of I don't have this, right? And the universe can only mirror our state. So when we are feeling desperate, that's equals not having. When we're feeling like, oh, I wish I could, that's like, no, well, you don't have it, right? So it just gives you more of not having and not having and not having. But when you can relax into it, when you can trust, when you can have faith, that opens up to the receiving part of it. So instead of I hope, I wish, I want, I just changed my perspective to this is what I'm desiring and it's coming. It is here. I'm just lining up to it, right? I am preparing for it. I am making a place for it. And so I lived my life fully present in our old home, right? Like so grateful for our home, improving it, making changes to it so that we could live in it better, but also loving it and preparing it for the next people who would live there. And that truly was such an important lesson for me, right? Because yes, I feel so strongly about the gratitude process, but even more than that, gratitude for what you have really truly opens up and creates space for what's next to come. Because if you're constantly saying things like, this house is so small, or I want to move, or I want to get out of here, you're just energetically reinforcing that you're stuck, right? And you're just going to get more of whatever it is that you're not actually wanting. It is the reverse of what you want. And so energetically, instead, if you can truly, truly love the stage you're in, the job you have, the aspects of who you are right now, if you can be grateful for, and there's always things to be grateful for, if you can be grateful for what you have while you're calling in what you desire, like that truly is, I think, the one little thing that a lot of us can miss. Because you're like, yeah, I know what I want. I'm crystal clear on it. I have a vision board. I journal about it. I visualize, I talk about it, this, that, and the other thing. But if you aren't willing to release it and let it go, it's probably that you're gripping, and it's hard because you're going to feel stuck. Once I learned that, it was like things changed. Things changed. And you may have heard me say, because a couple of years ago, we did have an offer on a lakefront home and it didn't work out. And now it's so clear to me why it didn't work out. Even shortly after, Ryan and I were happy that it didn't work out, but allowing myself to release that, knowing, okay, when it's coming. So when it comes, it's going to be perfect. And I've had conversations because people have asked me like, oh, are you guys still wanting to move? Or are you still thinking like you might want to live on the lake? And I say, yeah, absolutely. And when the timing's right, it's all going to align. It's all going to come together perfectly. And so like, that was just my response every time, because I truly, truly, truly believed that. And so now when we look back, we call this the bridge of incidents, right? Now we can see where the universe can get creative, right? Because I did a podcast about this. I think it's episode 165, where I talk about new beginnings. But we went to San Francisco, Ryan and I, for a trip that I got him for Christmas last year. Air Canada went on strike. That delayed us just by about a day. We were supposed to get home earlier in the day. We didn't get home till really late. So then we decided that we would shift our plans for the following weekend to leave a day later for our son's hockey tournament. And that little shift allowed us to see that this house that we're in came up for sale. And we were able to go, our realtor sent us a note, and we were able to go that evening, the day before we left, to take a look and view this property, and then head out of town before the deadline for accepting offers. If we had stuck to our original plan, then we would have already been out of town. We wouldn't have been able to see this house, and we probably wouldn't have put an offer on a house that we hadn't even walked through, right? So this chain of coincidences, I truly believe they weren't coincidences. I truly believe this was meant how it was meant to happen, right? And I've also read the book, The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer, dozens of times. The chapter 10, chapter 12 about, just vibrating at abundance and attracting aligned people and relationships and experiences. Like, it just resonates so deeply, because he teaches that you don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are being. So I wasn't wishing for the house. I was becoming and creating the person who would live there. I was moving on with my days. I wasn't like pining at lakefront houses. I was like, it's coming. Whenever it comes, I'm going to be so happy and it's going to be great, right? I was just being the person who would have this house. And so I guess we can say the next step is just like that gratitude in motion. So even though I was calling in something new, I loved deeply where I was, right? Like our home, and I could cry. I don't want to cry, but like it's coming up. The tears are coming. Like we made such special memories, right? We made improvements to the space. We prepared it both energetically and physically for the next family, and the day before our closing, like I went through that house. I like scrubbed the kitchen, mop the floors. Like I just wanted it to be such a special place for the next people to make their memories, right? Gratitude is active. It is not a passive process. It sounds like, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this. Thank you for what I have. And also, thank you for bringing what's on its way. So I guess this is where I would say that we can close, right? So if I was to create a roadmap for you, as you think about what you would love, as you conjure up that desire, as you make that crystal clear picture in your mind, like, here is your roadmap. Step 1, let yourself want it. Truly, truly let yourself dream. Step 2, take that step beyond your invisible circle. It's going to feel painful, but the freedom you feel on the other side is so, so worth it. I promise you. Step 3 is going to be to visualize and feel it, like truly, truly feel it in your bones, as if it's already done, as if it's here right now. Step 4, what I think was most important for me, is to release the control. And gosh, if you're a woman, if you're a mom, not having control is tricky, but release the control and just trust the timing. I know it is hard to be patient, but that faith in trusting that it's going to come at the perfect time in the perfect moment, it changed everything. And so then from there, it's going to be to act like it's coming, right? Act like it is on its way and just start to prepare, start to live your life as if it is here, it is on the brink, and it's on the verge of manifesting in your life, and just prepare your life that way. And then the final thing I will say is just stay deeply, deeply grounded in gratitude, and be thankful for what you have now, because you cannot get to where you want to go without being deeply grateful for where you are now. So if you want, here's a few journal prompts. Of course, the first one, if anything is possible, what do I want? Another thing I would say that you can ask yourself is, what limits am I putting on myself that maybe no one else is putting on me? What limits or what limitations, what beliefs that aren't really real are you putting on yourself? The next thing I would say is, how would I feel if this was already here? If this was already mine? If I already had the raise, if I already had the career I desired, if I had the relationship that I was calling in, if I had the dream home, how would I feel? And then the final thing that I would journal on, or think about, or go for a walk and just ponder or talk about with a friend, is, how can I love my life fully while calling in more? How can I love where I'm at now while also knowing that it's okay to desire more and that it's coming to me now? So as we close, whether your dream is a new home, a career shift, better health and well-being, perhaps it's a creative project, that relationship, more freedom in your days, more ease, peace, or joy, like, just let yourself want it. Let yourself want it, and let it feel real in your body first. And then hold this mantra with me. I've said it so many times on the podcast, but everything is always working out for me. Even the delays, even the plot twists, even the detours, even the airline going on strike, everything is always working out for me. Because from where I'm sitting right now, and I can see the lake and I can look out to the water, this has honestly just truly never been more true. So thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with a friend. Could you leave me a review on Apple Podcasts? Send me a DM and tell me if anything is possible. Here is what I would love. Share it with me. I will hold that space with you. I will hold the faith and trust that it is coming. And until the next time, I am cheering you on. Honor those desires. Trust your path. And the juggle is real, but honestly, so is the magic. And the timing just felt perfect, because this week, these reminders is like, slowing down, reminding yourself that you can do it. It's all beautiful. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here, And I cannot wait to share with you again. Until the next time, take good care.